Once upon a time, in a charming village, there lived a sweet and kind girl named Cinderella. She had a gentle heart and a smile that could brighten the gloomiest day. But Cinderella's life was not easy. After her mother passed away, her father remarried a woman who had two daughters of her own. They were jealous and mean, always making Cinderella do all the chores while they lounged around. Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters were cruel. They made her clean the house from top to bottom, cook all the meals, and even mend their clothes. Despite the hard work, Cinderella remained kind and hopeful. She dreamed of a day when she would be free from their cruelty. One day, an announcement arrived at their home. The prince of the kingdom was hosting a grand ball at the palace. Every young maiden in the land was invited, for the prince was seeking a bride. Cinderella's heart leaped with joy at the thought of attending the ball. However, her stepmother laughed and said, "You, Cinderella, you have nothing to wear. Besides, who would want to dance with you?" Undeterred, Cinderella helped her stepsisters prepare for the ball. She sewed their dresses and styled their hair, all the while dreaming of her own chance to go. When the night of the ball arrived, her stepmother and stepsisters left her alone in the house. Cinderella sat by the fireplace, feeling tears welling up in her eyes. Suddenly, a warm, shimmering light filled the room. Out of the light stepped a beautiful fairy with sparkling wings. "Don't cry, dear Cinderella," the fairy said with a gentle smile. "I am your fairy godmother, and you shall go to the ball." With a wave of her magic wand, the fairy godmother transformed a pumpkin into a magnificent golden carriage. She turned 6 mice into 6 elegant white horses, and the old family dog into a grand coachman. Finally, she transformed Cinderella's ragged clothes into a dazzling gown of silver and glass slippers that shone like stars. But remember, the fairy godmother warned, the magic will only last until midnight. You must return home before the clock strikes 12. Cinderella could hardly believe her eyes. She thanked her fairy godmother and hurried into the carriage. As she arrived at the palace, everyone turned to look at the mysterious, beautiful girl. The prince himself was captivated and asked her to dance. They danced all night, and Cinderella felt like she was in a dream. Time flew by, and before she knew it, the clock began to chime midnight. "I must go," Cinderella exclaimed and ran from the ballroom. As she fled, one of her glass slippers slipped off her foot, but she didn't have time to retrieve it. She leaped into her carriage just as the final chime sounded, and in an instant, she was back in her old clothes, the magic gone. The next day, the prince sent out a proclamation. He would marry the girl whose foot fit the glass slipper. His servants went from house to house, trying the slipper on every maiden. When they arrived at Cinderella's home, her stepsisters tried desperately to fit into the slipper, but it was no use. Cinderella timidly asked if she could try. Her stepmother and stepsisters laughed, but the prince's servant allowed it. As soon as Cinderella's foot slipped into the glass slipper, it fit perfectly. Her stepmother and stepsisters were astonished as the servant declared, "This is the prince's true love." The prince arrived shortly after and recognized Cinderella immediately. He took her hand and promised to cherish her forever. Her fairy godmother appeared once more, transforming her rags into a stunning wedding gown. Cinderella forgave her stepmother and stepsisters for their cruelty, for her kind heart could not hold a grudge. Cinderella and the prince were married in a beautiful ceremony and lived happily ever after. They ruled the kingdom with kindness and generosity, ensuring that everyone lived joyfully and peacefully. And so, Cinderella's dream came true, and she proved that with a kind heart and a little bit of magic, anything is possible.